Imagine replacing Notion, Miro, and half your dev workflow with one open source tool. From docs, architecture diagrams, to tasks, all in the same infinite canvas. This is AFFiNE, a local first workspace that's completely blown up on GitHub. It's fully open source, local first, and self-hostable. I'll show you how to set it up and why more devs are leaning into this. AFFiNE is basically a knowledge operating system for developers. Most tools force you to separate things. One tool for docs, another for diagrams, another for planning. AFFiNE merges those together. We get rich documents, relational database, and an infinite whiteboard canvas all inside the same workspace. They call this edgeless mode. Now here's the part you actually care about. Like I said, AFFiNE is local first. It uses CRDT syncing powered by y-octo and a Rust backend called OctoBase. That means you can work offline, come back later, and sync without merge conflicts or even losing your work. You can spin up the entire stack with a simple Docker compose up command. And another interesting piece is the editor framework called BlockSuite. It's an extensible block editor where developers can build custom blocks and plugins using web components. So if you want blocks that render API responses, or your diagrams or custom data views, you can actually build them right here in AFFiNE. For everyday dev work, you also get Markdown, code blocks, even GitHub embeds. We have Figma embeds, as well as these architectural diagrams and sticky notes that can instantly turn into a Kanban board or even a database. With how much this has blown up, this project is moving really quickly with a new version that's just shipped, and I mean over 63,000 stars on GitHub. That kind of tells us something. If you enjoy these types of tips and tools to speed up your dev workflow, be sure to subscribe to the BetterStack channel. All right, enough talk. Let me show you how a quick setup is and how to jump right into the workflow. After we clone this, we run the Docker command, this launches, and I can create a new workspace. I drop in a quick API spec using a Markdown block, then add a code snippet. Now I switch the page into edgeless mode, and the document becomes a part of this infinite canvas. That's already pretty cool, at least in my book. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Instead of opening Miro or some other whiteboard, I can just start sketching the architecture right here around the code. So things like I can drop API gateway here, I can put auth service here, maybe the database over there. I can drag shapes, connect them with arrows, move things around, basically the same flow you would expect with any whiteboard tool, but now it's all in one place. It's all in AFFiNE, but it's living right next to the actual documentation that we started with. So the spec and the architecture diagram are going to stay together. All right, now check this out. I can drop in a few sticky notes for tasks. I can select them and convert them into a database. And now it's on a Kanban board. It's in the same workspace. There's no exporting. There's no switching apps anymore. Next, I could embed a GitHub issue directly into the page, and then drop a Figma design right next to it. So now the doc, the architecture diagram, the tasks, and the design references all live in one place together. It works offline, and if you want, you can self-host the entire thing. So where does AFFiNE actually fit compared to other tools that we're already using? Let's just start with the big one. Let's start with Notion here, right? Notion is polished, we get that, but it's cloud only. The canvas is limited, and your data lives entirely on their servers. Next, we have tools like Obsidian, which it's fantastic for local Markdown knowledge bases, but if you want diagrams, databases, or collaboration, you usually end up installing a bunch of other plugins. AFFiNE ships most of that that's already just built right into it. Then, of course, there's Miro. Miro, it is a cool tool, right? But it's a great whiteboard tool that's only mostly visual. You can't really build structured documentation or databases inside of it. And then there are tools like AppFlowy or Anytype, which are really similar, but for a lot of developer workflows, AFFiNE's Canvas Fusion, that BlockSuite extensibility, and the CRDT syncing are really ahead. The big technical differentiation here is through BlockSuite. It's essentially an open source Notion-style editor framework. Devs can fork it and build entirely new applications on top of it. And we're already starting to see third-party blocks and plugins appearing within the community itself, which it's great. It shows us that this is really growing. It's being used by a lot of people. So speaking of using this, right? Who is actually using AFFiNE? Well, it's a mix of developers, architects, teams, right? Front-end engineers, because it's so visual, they seem to like it. Right? It is very visual. If you're visual, you're going to love this. Technical and system architects like it because they can write documentation and draw architecture diagrams all within the same page. Real-time collaboration still works even on a self-hosted instance. Huge bonus there. And a few things that really stand out here are privacy, especially if you're storing proprietary code or just personal stuff, right? It's privacy. We want to store our personal stuff off servers. Next is deployment. There's an official Docker Compose setup, so you spin up the backend and you're running your own Workspace platform. Then finally is the development speed that we get with this. Features are shipping quickly, and if you want something new, you could even contribute if you want, right? And build your own custom block directly on top of BlockSuite. Now, I just keep rambling off good things, right? But with anything, there are downsides because dev tools with this much always have rough edges. Large workspaces can occasionally not buffer correctly. It's improving quickly, but it's not as smooth as something like Figma. So performance, right, it's not that great. It's good. It's good. It's not magnificent though. Second is the database system is solid, but it's still growing. Basic tables and Kanban boards work great, but for more advanced relations and subtasks, they're not quite there yet. It's supposed to come out with the new update. Then mobile support. Right now it runs in the browser on tablets and iPads. It actually works pretty well, but there's no fully native mobile app yet. And finally, self-hosting can have a few weird things, some issues with image proxy configuration or ARM setups, nothing major, but still. The good news is the docs are pretty good and the issues are being prioritized. Honestly, for a project with more than 63,000 stars and this level of scope, the stability is quite impressive. So the big question is whether AFFiNE is worth using as a developer. For a lot of people, the answer is going to be yes. Why not? Especially if you care about your data ownership. You prefer self-hosting your own tools. You write architecture docs and specs, right? Or if you just want a workspace you can actually extend and just kind of build out some custom things with. That whole BlockSuite alone makes the project even more interesting. Where it might not be perfect yet is where you need some really good UX or if your workflow depends heavily on mobile devices, right? You can juggle those, see what fits for you, but AFFiNE is definitely one of the more interesting productivity tools being built right now. My guess is that if you start using it for personal projects, there's a good chance you'll end up migrating your team wiki too. If you want to try AFFiNE, I've put all the links in the description. You can try it online, download desktop apps, or just self-host it using Docker, right? That's all there. If you enjoy open source and AI tools to speed up your workflow, be sure to subscribe. We'll see you in another video.